Hi, welcome back for another short talk on the things that we value here in Space Delta 4. I'm Colonel Rich Bourquin, Commander of Space Delta 4. I'm here with one of my deputies, Lieutenant Colonel Trevor Fish Hollis. And the thing that we wanted to talk about today was a value that we establish and nurture meaningful relationships based on an assumption of trust across the enterprise to foster cohesion toward mission goals. And so, Fish, this is something I know when we were building up the values that we wanted to put out for the Delta. This is actually the last one that we added.
Right.
And this is actually something that you kind of championed, that you came up with from some of your previous experience working in the special operations community.
Yes.
So I wonder if you can kind of talk through that a little bit. What made this something that you wanted to establish? What made it important to you as a value?
Okay. So for me, working within the SOF or special operations community, one thing that resonated strongly with me was I had one boss who said, you know, when you're developing a partnership and developing a relationship, you really have to get coffee breath close to those that you are developing that relationship with. At first I was like, okay, what does that actually mean? And what he meant by that was you have to have an understanding of your partner's equities, what their interests are. You have to, figure out those locations, those areas where your equities meet. But you also have to figure out those areas where they might differ. And within our Delta, obviously, we have a very complex mission set. Providing that, strategic and theater missile warning to the U.S. and its allies. There are a lot of partners we have in executing that mission. We cannot do our mission without the Guard forces that we work with, the reserve forces, the other Deltas, our allied partners. And I thought of, that's a kind of the same approach or the same complexity to the environment that I remember from the SOF community. And I said, you know what, we can't be successful if we don't have those close partnerships with all those other entities. So that's kind of the reason I kind of hit on that particular area.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with COVID, probably coffee breath close. It might be a little out of bounds right now, but
yes,
I think
it's virtually coffee breath close.
Virtually coffee breath close is definitely something we should be striving for. And I haven't really spent any time in special operations myself, but my perception or how I think people mostly see those kind of communities is lean and agile, and definitely making the most of what they have.
Yes.
And when you look at the chief of space operations, his intent for the Space Force is also lean and agile and forward-looking. And so we're going to have to figure out how to leverage those relationships to get things done. And I think a key part of that, and it's in the way we have the value written, is building those relationships on an assumption of trust, right? Going into a relationship and taking that first step of, whether it's interpersonal or interorganizational, having that assumption of trust that I believe that you and I will work together, and that we will both be working towards a common interest, and that whatever you're doing, even if I maybe perceive it as not initially in my best interest or potentially adversarial, I'm willing to let it play out some, so that we can work towards common interest and build that trust. Someone's got to take that first step, and I want people in Space Delta 4 being willing to take that first step.
Yes.
How does that relate to you?
Well, I think of, not to deliberately throw out a plug for a book, but Simon Sinek's book that I know that, we hold in high regard, The Infinite Game. It's not about what you can get out of the next year. It's not about what you can get out of a partnership necessarily. It's about setting up those conditions for success for long-term growth, long-term gain. And I think that having that mindset, you can't always go through, you can't always go into a partnership or a relationship with what can I get out of this? It's what can we all get out of this towards that greater good or that greater mission target, if you will, which again for us is progressing space, progressing missile warning, missile defense across the board. So.
Yeah, you're right. I think, if you look at it from the perspective of, if I'm willing to give a partner a win today, even if it's not my win or it doesn't necessarily, advance something for my organization, but I'm willing to do those things and allow a partner to win a day, does that set conditions and build the trust that we both win in even bigger ways? tomorrow. And again,
Exactly.
that works for interpersonal, also interorganizational. I do think it's important though that to call out that assuming trust doesn't mean that trust is unbreakable.
Of course.
You know, we're not naive. There's no value in being blind and naive.
Mm-hmm.
But there is that assumption of trust and the willingness to kind of work through whatever those issues are, and to attempt to look at the perspective of that other person, that other organization, to understand maybe why they're acting in the way that they are, right? Everybody's got a boss, everybody's got an agenda, and it's that assumption that whatever that person is doing, has a good motive at the base of it. It's not adversarial just to be adversarial, just because they don't like you or whatever you might, feel at the time. Mm-hmm. But that there is a good reason why they're doing that, and maybe by offering that assumption of trust, you can break through that,
break the wall down.
And absolutely, mm-hmm. and get build that deeper relationship.
Definitely, and this is not limited just to our external partners. I know that's something that you stress regularly. This is throughout our entire organization, from the most tactical level. We have to be consistent with this approach. Relationship is not, again, it's not just the relationships with our partners or the formal relationships I kind of outlined earlier. This is all the way down through our squadrons, through with other deltas as well, of course, throughout the flights. This is all the way through our organization. Just having that same consistency, the same looking out for other entities' best interests, with the upfront assumption that there's that trust that they're going to be looking out for our equities and interests as well.
Right. So at the end of the day, what I really want as a commander is when people work with the men and women that work in Space Delta 4, when they, after they have some work experience or some shared experience with them, that they walk away thinking this is not a typical organization. This is not, a staff agency, right, or a functional that that's in the frozen middle that doesn't want to,
yep,
that never wants to say yes, right? Mm-hmm. We've all experienced that. It's not a competitor that is competing for a claim or resources or any of those things. I want them to walk away saying, hey, that was a positive organizational or personal experience. Mm-hmm. That is an organization that is willing to both share credit and share burden to get the mission done for everybody. Right. And so that's really my vision of why I think this value is important, mm-hmm, and how I want people to approach relationships, and how we continue to build that trust to get things done. Because I'll be honest, the list of things that we've got to do to get this Delta and Space Force off the ground and successful is long.
It's long. We can't do it ourselves.
Difficult.
We can't do it by
and
ourselves.
We need help.
Yes, sir, for sure.
Okay. All right. Hey, thanks Fish, mm-hmm, for sharing with us. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you again on the next time we discuss some values. Thanks.
Thank you.